Welcome back to the channel. My name's Danny, and today we are working on the Sportwagon and we're improving the intake system in it. So currently, this is the stock accordion intake tube that goes from the turbo inlet, the stock turbo inlet, which is still on the car, to your airbox. And we're replacing that with the silicone one, which is a little bit beefier, but the main difference is it's smooth on the inside, unlike the accordion one. So it has a consistent diameter for smoother air into the turbo. As well as we already have this AEM drop-in air filter, which is a dry flow one. So you just wash it out with their solution, let it dry in the sun, take all the junk out, either use, compressed air or, an air blower like I use to dry my car and clean out my PCs. And I use just a paintbrush that I use for detailing or a boar's hair brush I use for detailing just to get all the junk that's inside the air filter out. So we're going to clean that quickly. I won't film that. That's pretty boring. As well as we're going to do turbo muffler delete to get more turbo sounds, because why would you want less turbo sounds? There's no real performance benefit with this, maybe a little, because now you're smoothing the airflow out of the turbo and it's not being interrupted by the baffling that is in these. Now stock, they are straight through, but they do have slits in the side to add some dampening. Finally, which I just finished painting, so I haven't took the paint off, but this is a CTS turbo inlet. So this piece will actually go here, and this is going to sit in the car. If you're looking at the top of the engine, this will sit in the car, something like that, or the other way, one of the two. I can't remember, but that will sit in the car, and it's just nice and black. They come as a raw aluminum, and because I purchased this secondhand, it just had some oily finger bits and residue on it, and it just didn't look nice, even though it's in the very back of the engine bay and you won't see it. I want it to be black, so it's looks stock, right? From the naked eye, and the average person goes, yeah, it's car stock, right? No. Anyways, stick around, let's get them installed. Okay, so before we get started, we're gonna do the turbo inlet first, which I have here. I just took all the masking tape off of it, and yeah, it looks pretty cool with the black and silver finish, but you're not gonna see any of the silver components because that's where all the hoses are coupling. And then I left, I didn't want to get paint in the thread, so I just masked the section, but I should have did it like this. But regardless, you're not going to see that because it's actually going to be under the turbo, so it will be good. So the turbo inlet's here. This is your diverter valve, and this is the valve that goes to your PCV system, which is over here. So that's for your PCV. That's the nut that holds it, and then your intake, and then to your turbo. And there's a little rubber seal, so make sure that if you bought this secondhand, make sure it still has it. It's not broken or damaged. And if you bought it new, then just make sure you install it. I do have a relatively new turbo on this car. I think the turbo was replaced at 90,000-ish kilometers under warranty. The wastegate's stuck on the old one. The car really sat a lot, so that's probably why. So first things first, let's just undo the wastegate power line. And then we're gonna undo I think that's a T25 or a T30. It's T30. And you know what sucks? I left a lot of my Allens at my dad's house. So we're kind of working on a bit of a skeleton toolbox at the moment, but I do still have my Stanley, which my Stanley's been saving my butt. I got a T27 and I have a T30, so let's try the T30 first. And if it's too big, we'll do it. Oh yeah, that's solid. T27, not today. Okay. Now I do have the Milwaukee electric ratchet, but I do like to break everything first by hand. Oh my god, it wasn't even tight. And you're just gonna make sure you don't want to lose. You don't want to lose. There we go. Gotcha. Okay, so just so I don't lose you. There's our bolt, our little T30. Here's a good habit to follow. Do that. This is how you don't lose bolts. Okay. Okay, so now that we've taken the T30 off, we rotated the turbo inlet back towards the firewall, and then now it's out of the turbo. We need to get the PCV system off. That's kind of like a one-time fitting in the way it fits. It's pretty hard to do, and it's also easy to break because of the heat, and it's all plastic. So when I did this last on my Golf R, I think there's really no good way about it, but you have to turn it, I think, to the line. There's a line on it. I don't think the new ones have a line. No, they don't. So you have to turn it to a line and then just kind of get a screwdriver under it. I'm gonna use my little picker wherever I put it. I have my big one, but this should work too. No, I need the small picker. I successfully got the stock turbo elbow out. Here's the new one. Let's just give you a quick side-by-side. The new beefiness versus the old little guy, right? Look at that. So it's a lot bigger of a turbo inlet. To get this off, you just have to basically get it out of the car. So it was another T30 here on the valve cover to get that out. Another thing I did, let's just quickly show you. I'm gonna bring you guys over to the car. Let's try not to, oops. Okay, bring you guys over to the car. So one other thing I did, there's this coolant line that runs along the back of the motor. I undid the T30 here and I loosened the T30 here so I could snake out the T30 that holds the PCV line out from underneath the coil pack harness, under this coolant hard line, and get it out. So that's what I did, and once it was out, I just pulled like hell to get that piece off. So now that the piece is off, we're going to re-snake it into the, well, actually, before that, I'm going to put it onto this, and that's going to be a mission. So, wish me luck. I'm going to reinstall that without breaking it. It is very difficult, so you can see there is a line on this right here. There's a small mark, and that's where you're supposed to put your pick in to kind of pull it off. I already broke that. There were supposed to be 2 of those, but whatever. I mean, it's not the end of the world. The seal is still intact, and it's a relatively tight seal, and it's meant to be because it would cause a massive vacuum leak if it wasn't sealed. So let's get this tube on and go from there. Well, the CTS one versus I think the IE one I did on the Golf R, it's just slid in. I just pushed it down. You heard it click in. Not even. It just went on. So let's snake this back in the car. So I'll film putting it back in the car, so then you guys have more of an idea without me struggling getting it out. Let's try not to scratch anything. We're going to take the screw out that we saved. He's got to go in and under. Around our wastegate. Not wastegate, diverter valve. And then this guy's got to come up. There's probably an easier way to do this. I've just chose to go this route, which seems to work for me. I'm just struggling with it right now. Needs to come back a bit, needs to come up a bit, and there we go. And this guy too, when you remove it, you just pull straight off. A little bit of upward pressure here, and then it just clicks back in. So you'll hear the click, and then it uses a coarse thread T30. Okay, good to go. So that's on. Okay, so now let's install our turbo inlet. Go around the coolant line. Just like installation, you kind of got to rock it back a bit. And then we should be able to get this big boy in. Okay, and then you slide it forward until it contacts. So it actually hooks into the turbo, and I'll show you on the old one. The reason why you got to roll this thing back is, see these locks? So essentially when you're installing it and removing it from the car, you have to rotate it like this, slide it into the turbo, and then rotate it back. And the reason when you rotate it back is it not only locks it, but then you put the set screw to hold it in. Now let's go get our set screw. Not in the ideal location to grab. And I'm just gonna start this by hand. It's going into aluminum threads, so you just wanna be careful with it. Put our wastegate back. We're gonna re-hook up those. Our turbo muffler is right back here. So this goes down to the intercooler. So what we're gonna do is I'm actually gonna loosen this one, and we're gonna loosen this one, and loosen that one, and then there's 3 screws that hold your turbo muffler on. So we gotta take the 3 bolts out for your turbo muffler. First things first, I think we need another T30. Seems like everything on this car is held together with a T30, which I am not complaining with. What size are these? They're a 7. Dude, why did you do this? Like, man, whoever the technician that worked on this last and did my turbo swap, like, what are you doing, dude? How did you tighten that? You know what? He probably left that and did the back one, I bet you. Because the back one's easy to get to. Let's do the back one. See, this should have been pointed straight up so you can get a socket or a flathead on it. So it's serviceable. Both of these should have been pointed straight up so it was serviceable. But whoever touched this last didn't think about serviceability for the next guy. They just went, whatever. I'm just running my screwdriver around it to loosen the hose. And the hose should pop right out. Ugh. Okay, hose is out. Holy hell, man, that's a boost hose and a half. All right, and we can get the coupler out. Coupler's out. All right, turbo coupler. It's a tiny little guy. Well, I mean, it's a tiny little turbo. Oh shit, I see how that grabs. Holy cow, it like grabs into the hose. Check this out. If you haven't seen this type of hose clamp, look at that. That's cool. So now we got to get the 3 screws off that hold the turbo muffler on. So this is the turbo outlet. And then because the turbo is exposed right now, and things could fall into it, we're gonna do that. So nothing falls into my turbo. So there's 3 bolts. One at the top of the turbo. Shoot. One at the top of the turbo here. I need my swivel end to get at this better. Okay, there's 2, and the third one should be, let's just feel it. Yeah, the very bottom. So the third one's at the bottom. You just got to feel for it because you can't see nothing. Can't see anything. There you are. Oh my god, I gotta get my head all the way in my engine. You really got to take the battery out to do this. Like, sure, you could probably struggle without taking the battery out, but why would you do that to yourself? Okay. So now that that's all cracked and loosened, I think we're still recording. Yeah, so now that all that's cracked and loosened, let's just take all these out one at a time. And make sure you do not drop these in your engine bay, so just get the screw started and then do the rest by hand. There's no rush. All right, one. Let's take this last top screw out. And it's the easiest screw because you can see it the best. There we go. Get out of your home! Let's go this way. Go down. Go down. Go down. Let's put the screw. Yeah, there you go. Oh! Let's zoom you guys out a bit. There's a turbo muffler. So you can see here there's a stock seal. There's a little O-ring. There's our outlet with a part number. And you can see here it's got a little baffle. All right, so that still has a smooth airflow, just like the other one, the aftermarket one. Unlike the aftermarket one, this seals right to the turbo. There's no baffle, straight airflow. Let's get this thing installed. Can't see nothing. Well, it fits. Let me get you guys zoomed back in there. You just see black. Oh, that's it there. You just see black. We'll do this back one first by hand. So we'll start them all by hand. We'll do the next one. The engine bay is now assembled. We've taken apart what we needed to take apart. We put back everything. Now we just need to do final reassembly, which means I'm going to clean all the parts. I'm going to clean the battery tray, clean the battery, clean the airbox, and once all that's done, we'll put it back. Now, I'm not sure if I want to take out this rust inhibitor. This thing really, I don't think, does anything. It's really ugly in the engine bay, but it's ran everywhere, so that's a project for another day, I think. So here we are now installing the airbox. There's a lot of little pieces to installing the airbox. Right now I'm just adjusting the actual drain, so this will prevent any hydrolocking if water did get into the airbox past your air filter. Put the lid back on, put your filter back in. Now I'm just cleaning up the upgraded turbo inlet pipe. So this goes from the airbox to the turbo inlet. It's a lot smoother than the stock one, as it doesn't have an accordion section. It provides much smoother airflow and overall maintains its diameter throughout. It's all just held on with hose clamps. As you can see here, I'm just sliding it on and just clipping all the whole airbox down. And then after that, it's just a matter of buttoning up your airbox. Now that you've seen all the modifications installed, well, how do they drive? How's the car drive now with everything done? Well, I've had the turbo muffler delete, the turbo elbow, the inlet, and the silicone pipe for about a week. It really improved not only throttle response, turbo response, and that transient on and off boost response. So when the car is out of boost, getting back into boost, the car is a lot more responsive and it seems more effortless. I would say the best way to fix that would be eventually to do a tune and a downpipe, and that would really improve air out of the turbo now, and as well as air into the turbo of the modifications that I already did. Possibly also adding more turbo noises and more intake noises that would come from an aftermarket intake, something with like a pod filter, such as like a CTS one, an IE one, or an APR one. Now I'm just running a stock airbox with one of the areas cut out for a little bit more airflow directly into the airbox, along with an AEM drop-in filter, which is what I ran on my Golf R. And it's a great setup. It's stock, it's simple, and shouldn't void any warranties. And that was kind of my thinking with this. But overall, super happy with how these modifications came out. I hope you enjoyed the video. That's Tony, and we'll see you next time.